Yes, I'm back again. I've recently came across something very special to me. I recently watched a movie called Flipped. It's a 2000 is ew, it is a
You got
2000
it.
yeah, I know. It is a 2010 film with two characters called Bryce Losky, our lead male character, and Julie Baker, our female character, aka his love interest. Now, this movie follows the same format as any other love story you might think of. You know, two characters that fall in love or they didn't know they were in love and they eventually find feelings for each other throughout the film. I'm going to give you just a quick breakdown on what the movie is kind of about so you get the gist of it, but that's not what I'm going to be talking about today. The movie starts out with Bryce Losky moving into his new neighborhood and it's take place in the 50s. 50s or 60s, around that time period. And the neighbor girl that's already acquainted there, she shows up and she's just trying to be nice and help him out. And him being a young kid, he's like, "Oh, this is weird. She probably likes me. I don't like that." And we see his point of view. The reason why the movie is called Flipped is because it goes back and forth between their point of views throughout the film. And he he does not want to reciprocate these feelings to her. He doesn't like her. He thinks she's just a nuisance and so on. Like when they're at school, she is all over him. She is constantly stalking him, damn near. And then we get to her point of view, which is basically the same thing we see from him, just with a bit more of a twist because we start seeing why she was doing all that stuff. And it's not as bad as he makes it out to be. Now, she still smells him and she still kind of stalks him, but hey, at this point in our days, that's not the weirdest thing you see in this film.
So you're telling me if I go behind you when you're asleep and I start smelling you, it's not that bad?
Now, the reason why I just wanted to quickly ramble about this film is because the strange, funny moments in it, which is gonna sound very morbid when I talk about them, but bear with me here. Now, we start to kind of see the dynamics between both characters' families. Julie Baker's family is a bit more of like the progressive, very sweet, forthcoming family to her. The dad, the two brothers, and the mother, of course. We get the Bryce's family, and they're almost like the complete opposite. Yes, they're better well off than Julie's family, but their dynamics is a lot more different. Bryce's father, for example, will be our lead character in this video. He is really unhinged in this fucking movie. And we later find out why he's like this. Turns out he's just a man who had to kind of settle into the conformity of this is my life. I'm the breadwinner. Had to give up on my dreams. So he's very just angry at how his life has turned out and he's taking it out on everybody around him, whether it's physically or emotionally. Julie's side, however, is a bit much more supportive, even though they're much
They're
worse
broke.
off. They're much worse off compared to them. Well, we get to see Bryce's father in action, and he is in a lot of this. What ends up happening with him is Bryce's father is the complete opposite of Julie's father. He, throughout the whole movie, is just mocking her family and then mocking his own. Like, he is just incredibly rude. There's one scene in particular where Bryce's father, whenever Julie brings eggs to Bryce, hey, here, she has chickens and they end up laying eggs, and she just wants to give them to them as a nice offering. So he kindly accepts them, and he tells his family about it. They're all like, "Oh, that's very sweet of her. We enjoy that." Bryce's dad has the opposite reaction. He's immediately in defense of like, I'm not eating those things. Their house is filthy. They live like peasants. I am not gonna eat whatever they give me. And they're
Because
like,
they're
you're
broke.
and they're complete and the whole family's in complete opposite compared to him. They're like, you're just being an asshole. Well, he then comes up with another excuse of like, well, I'm not gonna eat them because we can get salmonella, and it just becomes the whole thing to where the family just kind of caves in, and it's like, you know what, yeah, just give the eggs back to her because your dad's being a bitch. Well, The whole thing was, hey, give the eggs just back to her. Bryce, at this point in the story, just kind of avoiding her. He doesn't want to be around her. And he just lies. He just throws them away. That's one thing. And that becomes a conflict within its own. Well, we cut over to another time. The dad is just so strange. There's one point where we kind of learn just a bit more about Julie's family, whether it's her brothers or her uncle, who happens to be special needs, if you will. Around this time, something happened within his birth process, which ended up hurting him mentally, and they have to put him in a special home for that. Well, the grandfather relays this information to the family because he's been spending time with her, kind of helping her fix their house around, get it more up to the standards of the classic American home back in the day. I have a question being asked to me.
Today's normal societies, if a man came up to you, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird, by the way. The grandfather does just kind of sneak up on Julie and ends up helping her, which is a sweet relationship, but it's just kind of weird how it happens. There's a lot of weird stuff that just kind of happens in this movie that we just let go because it's a romance movie.
Weigh about 60 cents, which is a lot back then, of eggs.
Yeah, it's like $6 in
And this
today.
is right after the Great Depression.
Yeah, right
This
after the Great
this
Depression.
motherfucker is so wasteful.
Yeah,
Just like my mom, he threw me away. So wasteful.
bit of a lore drop there, but the father is already bottle deep in whiskey in the living room as they're all kind of sitting there. His daughter, Bryce's sister, is like, hey, I'm going to go over next door because Julie's brothers happen to be musicians. They are making their own album or whatever. So she's like, hey, I'm just going to go over there, hang out with them while they're doing this. The dad is like, well, they're bums. They're not going to go anywhere with that in their life. They're just losers. Immediately just being an asshole, which he's already been doing. I'm just kind of giving the biggest examples of him doing this. But there's never one scene in this entire movie where their dad is just calm. Besides maybe the beginning, where he just says 5 words. But he's immediately just fighting. And he's fighting the grandfather of like, well, why are you spending time with him? That's weird, which it is weird. But it's just, he's just insanely aggressive. Cut forward just a little bit more, and we start to see the buildup of this man's animosity towards just life and his family. They invite Julie's family over for dinner. This is much more towards the end of the movie. They invite them over to the dinner just to share a nice meal with them, spend time with them, get to know them, and kind of make amends after everything that's always happened between them. The dad, throughout the whole dinner scene, is being just very passive aggressive. He is telling the boys about if they're going to college, if what they're doing is even like viable. And it's like, no, yeah, we're going to be going to college. Actually, we got offers, even scholarships. And he's like, huh? Because around this point, we discover through Bryce's mother, his wife, that he actually used to be a musician himself.
A magician.
Yeah, magician. I messed up my wording there. A musician himself. And he ended up just kind of letting go of those dreams. Maybe something happened with his life where it's like, hey, we've all been there where we want to do something and something comes along and just kind of ruins it. So we have to change our trajectory. Well, the dad took this way different than all of us. He's immediately defensive. And he kind of shuts down after this. And after the dinner ends, everybody goes home. They're in the kitchen cleaning up. And the dad is just talking shit. He's talking crap about the family, about the sons, about how they have no future in that, how difficult it is to do albums because clearly he has some info on that. He failed at that. The daughter immediately fights back, which, I mean, if she should have. She said, you're a complete asshole. This man immediately just reels back like he's Vasily Kamatsky and just slaps the shit out of her. I mean, he literally bitch slapped her. Her neck winds backwards. And she's like, you're insane. Like, go to hell. And she runs to her room and he's just screaming behind her, following her, chasing up. That is the last time we see the father and daughter. We don't know what happened. He could have killed her. We don't know. That's where his story ends. He ends with beating his daughter, screaming while he's chasing her throughout the house
Crying.
and the crying. And there it is. There's a conclusion. We don't know. That could have been a different movie that I didn't see at that time. Now we go over back to our main characters, Bryce and Julie. Now, throughout the whole movie, it's just a classic dynamic of like the ups and downs of young love, the misunderstandings, yada yada. Well, around close to the end of the movie, the school kind of does like a bachelorette auction with the boys, which is kind of weird, but basically the girls pay money to raise money for the school, and in exchange, they kind of just go on these cute little lunch dates with the boys.
They prostitute them.
Basically, prostitute them in a weird sense, which is right now in the climate of things, is a little weird seeing. But uh, we cut to where Bryce is watching Julie have lunch with another boy who just didn't get chosen. She was being nice, she was being sweet. Well, he gets kind of jealous and he goes up to her and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry for this." And he immediately just tries kissing her in front of everybody, a lunchroom full of kids. And she obviously gets upset and embarrassed and runs off. She runs home and she is crying to her mother, like, "What is wrong?" And she's like, "Well, Bryce tried to kiss me in front of all these, in front of all my peers." And immediately, as soon as she's trying to console her daughter because she's crying, I'm gonna go real back to Bryce's side. Bryce is just trying to get it, like, hey, he's just trying to explain his story. He's like knocking on her door, just been like, hey. And that's all we see from Bryce is that he's just trying to contact her, whether it's calling her phone number or her house line.
The whole time, by the way, in this movie,
Yeah.
we're in 7th grade, and you have this little boy being like, "Oh, you got this hottest girl in the class. You got the hottest girl in the class."
Yeah.
And I'm just like to myself, like it's just like, guys, you're in 7th grade. Like,
I feel like kids
okay,
still
we couldn't
we
talk,
I feel like
but
kids still
still.
I feel like kids still talk like that nowadays though. That's very normal.
They're like, "Oh, kids really talk like that?"
Yeah.
When I was
It's pretty common, well, at least with the boys, I feel like it's pretty common for boys to kind of be like, "Oh, this girl's hot," or "This girl's ugly." It kids don't know kind of the gravity of what they're saying or doing.
when I was in
Until you
7th
get older,
grade,
you're
my
like,
mom
that's
and
that's
dad
mean. You
both
shouldn't do
got a
that.
divorce, and I was trying to learn how to become a woman without her in my life.
That is a very tragic tale, but all right. Bryce, from Bryce's POV, we just kind of see him calling her, going to her house, and kind of getting rejected at the door. Like, hey, she just doesn't want to see you right now. Like, okay, that's what we see. Cut over to Julie. When she comes home crying and bawling to her mother, you immediately hear like bashing at the door. Like, it's Bryce. We know it's him, but it is so aggressive and so like, I'm about to invade this home. Not only that, but we hear that Bryce not only has been constantly spam calling her more than what he showed us, he is like walking around her house and like trying to look through her window. So there's a scene in the movie where she's laying on her bed just wanting to be alone, and you see Bryce's shadow silhouette, like his silhouette, through the window curtains, just staring at her.
I did
There's,
that to you.
we're gonna address that. We see the silhouette of him just kind of staring at her, and then he's going through other ways of trying to find her. Like there's times he kind of chases her down, and he's like really trying to get at her, like so many times. He's just trying to avoid him. But from our point of view, he looks like Michael Myers. The dude is like stalking her at this point, full on stalking, like he's there at night. It is, it is wild. And then now, kind of like literally at the last 5 minutes of the movie, Julie hears like digging outside. So she goes to the living room and her dad, she tells her dad, "Hey, he's digging a hole in our yard." Like Bryce is outside with a shovel, just digging a hole for no apparent reason that we presume. And she's like, "Are you not gonna tell him anything?" The dad's like, "Hey, kid wants to dig a hole in my yard, it's fine." And we later then see that Bryce planted a magnolia tree for her because that was the tree that a sycamore, sorry, my apologies, sycamore that was cut down and that was very precious to her. It's kind of symbolizing like that is now she now has her own, but it's also like a fresh start, and it's him basically his way of saying I'm sorry. So that's what we get from that. And keep in mind that she spent nearly a summer trying to get this lawn ready. Like her house looked like shit, and Bryce's father was just helping her, like putting brand new sod, a brand new fence, and everything. Yeah, because they're poor, and we hate peasants here. Crop an image of billionaires. But after Bryce kind of plants his tree for her, it's kind of like condolences are done, which she forgives him very, very fast. I get that she likes him, but she was repeatedly said that I hate him. And she also has said, I never want to see him again, but planting a tree is enough. So keep that in mind, guys. Plant a girl a tree, and she will forgive everything you have ever done to her. That is
It's
all you need.
it's gonna be one of those stories where like grandma and grandpa meet each other. It's like,
So
how
my
did you meet grandma and grandpa? Well, grandpa showed up on my doorstep and started stalking me and knocking on my window. Oh, honey, you were so romantic.
story, the movie is cute. I will admit, it's a nice movie for its time. It was sweet, but I just couldn't get over like these weird, like weirdly unhinged, like aggressive characters. So funny watching. It's like watching Twilight and just seeing how unhinged Edward and Jacob are, because that's literally how I saw Bryce at times. But that's all I really want to talk about. Just a quick video about a movie I saw and how I thought it was pretty funny, just like the other tones that they had in it, which I do not condone beating your kids or anything like that. I just thought the characters' dynamics were kind of funny.